Hello. I finally found my glasses so I can actually read what I'm reading. Good morning, Fly. Good morning. It is, oh man, it's already like 2:15 for me. 2:15 a.m. my time. Hello, hello. How are you doing? I'm good. I'm good. I am just getting ready for bed and doing the favorite part of my evening, which is reading books to you guys. So, and I finally found my glasses. Remember to bring them with me so I can actually read. But 5:21 p.m. Oh, nice. Oh, hello, Graham. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right. Probably not, but I just pronounce it as Graham. Graham, I mean. So. Graham. 8:21 in London. Hello, London. I have family that live in London. They moved there a few years ago. Did you get the facts? Facts? What facts? Vax. Oh, not currently. I'm having to wait because I'm in the middle of getting my biologic medication switched around, figured out. Ah! I have glasses on my glasses! I'm in the middle of the medicine I take lowers my immune system. So it's, I'm in the middle of switching because I'm dealing with that. So my system can only handle one thing at a time right now. And that's a really big thing to handle. So, I'm advised to wait. Yeah, I am not a fan of anything, but I got to a point where, yeah. Not gonna debate it because I know everybody has their different point of view, and I am completely okay with everybody having their own, everybody. I feel like everybody makes their own decision for what's best for them. That's all that you can ask. So, but yeah, so we're reading, continuing reading Treasure Island. I'm on part 2. Yeah, and that's why I'm not advised to take it right now, or to get it done right now. Chapter 7 is next. I go to Bristol! That's what it's called. That's the chapter. I go to Bristol. Anybody in Bristol? I hope so, because we got a book to read, and for it to get to know Treasure, that'd be a rough go. So we're going to be continuing reading Treasure Island. Several people requested this one next, so this is the second book that we're reading of my bedtime story lives. So, yeah, just gonna wait for everybody who usually likes to come in to listen to me read, to make it. Never read it. A lot of people have said that, which is interesting because Treasure Island is like supposedly one of like the most classics. Like there's a bunch of movies on them, like the Muppet Treasure Island, and there's like, it's everywhere, and yet there's, yeah, I'm gonna read it. I'm gonna read some of it at least tonight. Awesome, I'm glad. A lot of people said that they haven't never read it, even though it's like a classic. I don't think I've read it myself all the way through, even, like in the book form. So, thank you. Okay. We got a decent amount of people in here. Hopefully anybody who wants to join will join shortly. So they don't miss too much between, because I know it can be tricky with these lives, breaking up a book into chapters. But I do my best. So, alright, this is chapter 7, called I Go to Bristol. Can I for reading, I hope. Alright. And, just in case, I'm not sure how to take certain comments, so I like to err on the side of everybody's, not meaning it to be weird. But just to be clear, for anybody in here, I like to be treated with respect, dignity, decency, and so this live is about book reading, Treasure Island, so if we keep it on that one. Okay. That's what we're here for. thank you, thank you. Yep. All right, you guys ready? We got a decent amount of people. I think probably everybody who. All right. Oh, Windsor! Thank you, Windsor. You're here. Welcome, welcome. Glad you can make it. Glad you can make it. All right. I don't want to miss anything. Great. Look at this. Let's read. Want to hear this? Awesome. Okay. All right, let's get going. As usual, for anybody who's new, I usually read through a few paragraphs or a few pages. These are typically very short pages for this book, so it doesn't actually take that long. But I might take a break every now and then just to check in on you guys. Thank you. Oh, man. Okay. So, this is chapter 7, called I Go to Bristol. Okay. It was longer than the squire imagined. Oh, that's right, sorry. I remembered last time I had the idea to read the last paragraph from the previous chapter just so we can kind of remember where we're at. So I'm just going to read the last paragraph of the last chapter before I continue. And who was that? Cried the squire. Name the dog, sir. You, replied the doctor, for you cannot hold your tongue. You are not the only men who know of this paper. These fellows who attacked the inn tonight, bold, desperate blades, for sure. And the rest who stayed aboard that lugger, and more, I dare say, not far off, are, one and all, through thick and thin, bound that they'll get that money. We must none of us go alone till we get to sea. Jim and I shall stick together in the meanwhile. You'll take Joyce and Hunter when we ride to Bristol, and from first to last, not one of us must breathe a word of what we found. Livesey, returned the squire, you are always in the right of it. I'll be as silent as the grave. All right, now we're in the checklist chapter. Oh, thank you for the flowers. Thank you, thank you. I'm not a professional reader. I'm just doing this for fun and hope that people can read it. I had a couple people criticize my reading. I'm like, I didn't know it was a competition. I hope you all enjoy it. It was longer than the squire imagined ere we were ready for the sea, and none of our first plans, not even Dr. Livesey's, of keeping me beside him could be carried out as we intended. The doctor had to go to London for a physician to take charge of his practice. The squire was hard at work at Bristol, and I lived at the Hall under the charge of old Rudolph, the gamekeeper, almost a prisoner, but full of sea dreams and most charming anticipations of strange islands and adventures. I brooded by the hour together over the map, all the details of which I well remembered. Sitting by the fire in my housekeeper's room, I approached that island in my fancy, from every possible direction. I explored every acre of its surface. I climbed 1,000 times to that tall hill they call the Spyglass, and from the top enjoyed the most wonderful and changing prospects. Sometimes the isle was thick with savages, with whom we fought, sometimes full of dangerous animals that hunted us. But in all my fancies, nothing occurred to me so strange and tragic as our actual adventures. So the weeks passed on, till one fine day there came a letter addressed to Dr. Livesey, with this addition: to you, to be opened in the case of my absence, to be opened in case of his absence by Tom Rudorth or young Hawkins. Obeying this order, we found, or rather I found, for the gamekeeper was a poor hand at reading anything but print, and the following important news. Old Anchor Inn, Bristol, March 1st, 1700. Dear Livesey, as I do not know whether you are at the Hall or still in London, I send this in double to both places. The ship is bought and fitted. She lies at anchor, ready for sea. You never imagined a sweeter schooner. A child might sail her, 200 tons. Name, Hispaniola. I got her through my old friend Blandley, who had proved himself throughout the most surprising trump. The admirable fellow literally slaved in my interest, and so, I may say, did everyone in Bristol. as soon as they got wind of what port we sailed for. Treasure, I mean. Rudrith, said I, interrupted the letter. Dr. Livesey will not like that. The squire has been talking, after all. Well, who's the better right? Growled the gamekeeper. A pretty rum go if squire ain't to talk for Dr. Livesey. At that I gave up all attempt at commentary and read straight on. Blandly himself fanned the Hispaniola, and by the most admirable management got her for the merest trifle. There is a class of men in Bristol monstrously prejudiced against Blandly. They go the length of declaring that this honest creature would do anything for money, that the Hispaniola belonged to him, and that he sold it to be absurdly high, the most transparent calumnies. None of them dare, however, to deny the merits of the ship. So far there was not a hitch. The work-people, to be sure, riggers and what not, were most annoyingly slow. But time cured that. It was the crew that troubled me. I wished a round score of men, in case of natives, buccaneers, or the odious French, and I had the worry of the deuce itself to find so much as half a dozen, till the most remarkable stroke of fortune brought me the very man that I required. I was standing on the deck when, by the merest accident, I fell in talk with him. I found he was an old sailor, kept a public house, knew all the seafaring men in Bristol, had lost his health ashore, and wanted a good berth as cook to get to sea again. He had hobbled down there that morning, he said, to get a smell of the salts. I was monstrously touched. So would you have been, and, out of pure pity, I engaged him on the spot to be ship's cook. Long John Silver, he is called, and has lost a leg. Uh-oh. But that I regarded as a recommendation, since he lost it in his country's service under the immortal Hawk. He has no pension, Livesey. Imagine the abominable age that we live in. Well, sir, I thought I had only found a cook, but it was a crew I had discovered. Between Silver and myself, we got together in a few days a company of the toughest old salts imaginable. Not pretty to look at, but fellows by their faces. Of the most indomitable spirit. I declare we could fight a frigate. Long John even got rid of 2 out of the 6 or 7 I had already engaged. He showed me in a moment that they were just the sort of freshwater swabs we had to fear in an adventure of importance. I am in the most magnificent health and spirits, eating like a bull, sleeping like a tree, yet I shall not enjoy a moment till I hear my old tarpaulins tramping around the capstan. Seaward ho! Hang the treasure! It's the glory of the sea that has turned my head. So now, Livesey, come post-haste. Do not lose an hour if you respect me. I'm going to use that line from now on. Do not lose an hour if you respect me. I'm just kidding, I'm always late. Let young Hawkins go at once to see his mother, with Rudrith for a guard, and then both of you come full speed to Bristol. John Trelawney. Ooh, let one fly. Aw, I'm glad. Welcome. Thank you for the follows, guys. God, thank you so much. Hello. I cannot. I'm already in chapter 7. I'm sorry. What's the book? Oh, this is Treasure Island. We're in chapter 7, so it's still pretty early. Not to worry. Awesome. Thank you for the follows, guys. Thank you for the likes. Yeah, it's to be expected. It is the internet after all. I just tried to make it clear that I like to be respected and spoken to respectfully, decently, and I give them a chance to prove themselves, and if they can't, then I block them, which I don't like to do, but I mean, it's their choice. Oh, thank you for the panda. Thank you for the likes. Thank you so much. All right. Oh, dang. I just saw how many people we have in here. Whitehurst, thank you for the Yeah, 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 statistics, I'm not sure. But I really appreciate the people who come in here and show me the love and are respectful and treat me like a human. Ooh, thank you, thank you. Thank you so much, Jiminy. I love it. Alright, let's continue. Postscript. I did not tell you that Blantley, who, by the way, is to send a consort after us if we don't turn up by the end of August, had found an admirable fellow for sailing master, a stiff man, which I regret, but in all other respects a treasure. Long John Silver unearthed a very competent man for a mate, a man named Arrow. I have a boatswain who pipes livesy, so things shall go man-o'-war fashion on board the good ship Hispaniola. I forgot to tell you that Silver is a man of substance. I know of my knowledge that he has a banker's account, which has never been overdrawn. He leaves his wife to manage the inn, and as she is a woman of color, a pair of old bachelors like you and I may be excused for guessing that is the wife, quite as much as the health, that sends him back to the roving sea. What is that supposed to mean? Oh, thank you. It is a good book. That was a questionable statement. P.P.S. Hawkins may stay one night with his mother. This J.T. fellow is quite the questionable fellow. You can fancy the excitement into which that letter put me. I was half beside myself with glee, and if ever I despised a man, it was old Tom Ruderath. I could see why. Who could do nothing but grumble and lament. Any of the under gamekeepers would gladly have changed places with him, but such was not the squire's pleasure, and the squire's pleasure was like law among them all. Nobody but old Ruderath would have dared so much to even to grumble. The next morning he and I set out on foot for the admirable Benbow, and there I found my mother in good health and spirits. The captain, who had so long been the cause of so much discomfort, was gone where the wicked cease from troubling. The squire had had everything repaired, and the public rooms and the signs repainted, and had added some furniture, above all, a beautiful armchair for mother in the bar. He had found her a boy as an apprentice also, so that she would not want help while I was gone. It was on seeing that boy that I understood, for the first time, my situation. I had thought up to that moment of the adventures before me, not at all of the home I was leaving, and now at the sight of this clumsy stranger, who was to stay here in my place beside my mother, I had my first attack of tears. I am afraid I led that boy a dog's life, for as he was new to the work, I had 100 opportunities of setting him right and putting him down, and I was not slow to profit by any of them. The night passed, and the next day, after dinner, Ruderath and I were afoot again, and on the road. I said goodbye to mother and the cove where I had lived since I was born, and the dear old admirable Benbow, since he was repainted, no longer quite so dear. One of my last thoughts was of the captain, who had so often strode along the beach with his cocked hat, his saber-cut cheek, and his old brass telescope. Next moment we had turned the corner, and my home was out of sight. The mail picked us up about dusk at the Royal George on the Heath. I was wedged in between Ruderath and a stout old gentleman, and in spite of the swift motion and the cold night air, I must have dozed a great deal from the very first, and then slept like a log uphill and down dale through the stage after stage. For when I was awakened at last, it was by a punch in the ribs, and I opened my eyes to find that we were standing still before a large building in a city street, and that the day had already broken a long time. "Where are we?" I asked. "Bristol," said Tom. "Get down." Mr. Trelawney had taken up his residence at an inn far down the docks, to superintend the work upon the schooner. Thither we had now to walk, and our way, to my great delight, lay along the quays and beside the great multitude of ships of all sizes and rigs and nations. In one, sailors were singing at their work. In another, there were men aloft, high over my head, hanging to threads that seemed no thicker than a spider's. Though I had lived by the shore all my life, I seemed never to have been near the sea till then. The smell of tar and salt was something new. I saw the most wonderful figureheads that had all been far over the ocean. I saw, besides, many old sailors with rings in their ears and whiskers curled in ringlets, and tarry pigtails and their swaggering, clumsy sea-walk. And if I had seen as many kings or archbishops, I could not have been more delighted. And I was going to see myself, to sea in a schooner, with a piping boatswain and pigtailed singing seamen, to sea bound for an unknown island, and to seek for buried treasures. While I was still in this delightful dream, we came suddenly in front of a large inn, and met Squire Trelawney, all dressed out like a sea officer, in stout blue cloth, coming out of the door with a smile on his face, and a capital imitation of a sailor's walk. "Here you are," he cried. "And the doctor came last night from London. Bravo! The ship's company complete." "Oh, sir," I cried, "when do we sail?" "Sail," he said. "We sail tomorrow." And next is chapter 8, At the Sign of the Spyglass. So, Trelawney? I don't know if I'm pronouncing any of these things correctly, so just bear with me if I am. Oh, man, thank you for the follows, guys. Thank you for the likes, for the gifts. Thank you so much. That just makes me feel so appreciated. We are reading Treasure Island. Spicy little nugget, how are you doing? I'm good. Oh, man. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that, Brian. I appreciate that. Thank you for the follow, Kari. Alright, you guys ready for chapter 8? When I had done breakfasting, the squire gave me a note addressed to John Silver, at the sign of the Spyglass, and told me I should easily find the place by following the line of the docks, and keeping a bright lookout for a little tavern with a large brass telescope for sign. I set off, overjoyed at this opportunity to see some more of the ships and seamen, and picked my way among a great crowd of people and carts and bales, for the dock was now at its busiest, until I found the tavern in question. It was a bright enough little place of entertainment. The sign was newly painted. The windows had neat red curtains. The floor was cleanly sanded. There was a street on either side, and an open door in both, which made the large, low room pretty clear to see in spite of clouds of tobacco smoke. The customers were mostly seafaring men, and they talked so loudly that I hung around at the door, almost afraid to enter, now that I had found the place. As I was waiting, a man came out of a side room, and, at a glance, I was sure he must be Long John. His left leg was cut off close by the hip, and under the left shoulder he carried a crutch, which he managed with wonderful dexterity, hopping about upon it like a bird. He was very tall and strong, with a face as big as a ham, plain and pale, but intelligent and smiling. Indeed, he seemed in the most cheerful spirits, whistling as he moved about among the tables, with a merry word or a slap on the shoulder for the favored of his guests. Now, to tell you the truth, from the very first mention of Long John in Squire Trelawney's letter, I had taken a fear in my mind that he might prove to be the very one-legged sailor whom I had watched for so long at the old Benbow. But one look at the man before me was enough. I had seen the captain and Black Dog, and the blind man Pew, and I thought I knew what a buccaneer was like. A very different creature, according to me, from this clean and pleasant-tempered landlord. I plucked up courage at once, crossed the threshold, and walked right up to the man where he stood, propped on his crutch, talking to a customer. "Mr. Silver, sir?" I asked, holding out the note. "Yes, my lad," he said. "Such is my name, to be sure. And who may you be?" And then he saw the squire's letter. He seemed to me to give something almost like a start. "Oh," he said, quite loud and offering his hand. "I see. You are new cabin boy. Pleased I am to see you." And he took my hand in his large, firm grasp. Just then one of the customers at the far side rose suddenly and made for the door. It was close by him, that the next page? It's not. Okay. There we go. And he was out in the street in a moment, but his hurry had attracted my notice, and I recognized him at a glance. It was a tallow-faced man, wanting 2 fingers, who had come first to the admirable Binbat. And this is the picture. It's him right now. I am on my 2nd chapter tonight, and they're pretty short chapters. I think I have enough energy to maybe read 2 more. So. Oh, I cried. Stop him. It's Black Dog. I don't care 2 coppers who he is, cried Silver, but he hasn't paid his score. Harry, run and catch him. One of the others, who was nearest the door, leaped up and started in pursuit. If he were Admirable Hawk, he shall pay his score, cried Silver, and then, relinquishing my hand, Who did you say he was? He asked. Black what? Dog, sir, said I. Has Mr. Trelawney not told you of the buccaneers? He was one of them. So? Cried Silver. In my house. Ben, run and help Harry. One of those swabs, was he? Was that you drinking with him? Morgan, step up here. The man whom he called Morgan, an old, gray-haired, mahogany-faced sailor, came forward pretty sheepishly, rolling his quid. Now, Morgan, said Long John, very sternly, you never clapped your eyes on that black dog before, did you now? Not I, sir, said Morgan, with a salute. You didn't know his name, did you? No, sir. By the powers, Tom Morgan, it's good for you, exclaimed the landlord. If you had been mixed up with the like of that, you would never have put another foot in my house. You may lay to that. And what was he saying to you? I don't rightly know, sir, answered Morgan. Do you call that a head on your shoulders, or a blessed dead-eye? Cried Long John. Don't rightly know, don't you? Perhaps you don't happen to rightly know who you was speaking to, perhaps. Come, now, what was he, John? Voyages, captains, ships, pipe up, what was it? We was a-talking of keel-hauling, answered Morgan. Keel-hauling, was you? And a mighty suitable thing, too, and you may lay to that. Get back to your place for a lubber, Tom. And then, as Morgan rolled back to his seat, Silver added to me in a confidential whisper. That was very flattering, as I thought. He's quite an honest man, Tom Morgan, only stupid. And now, he ran on again, aloud. Let's see, Black Dog? No, I don't know the name, not I. Yet I kind of think I've seen the swab. He used to come here with a blind beggar, he used. That he did, you may be sure, said I. I knew that blind man, too. His name was Pew. It was, cried Silver, now quite excited. Pew, that was his name for certain. Ah, he looked a shark, he did. If we run down this Black Dog now, there'll be news for Captain Trelawney. Ben's a good runner. Few seamen run better than Ben. He should run him down, hand over hand, by the powers. He talked to keel-hauling, did he? I'll keel-haul him. All the time he was jerking out these phrases, he was stumping up and down the tavern on his crutch, slapping tables with his hand, and giving such a show of excitement as would have convinced an Old Bailey judge or a Bow Street runner. My suspicions had been thoroughly reawakened on finding Black Dog at the spyglass, and I watched the cook narrowly. But he was too deep and too clever for me, and by the time the 2 men had come back out of breath and confessed that they had lost the track in a crowd and been scolded like thieves, I would have gone bail for the innocence of Long John Silver. See here now, Hawkins, he said. Here's a blessed hard thing on a man like me, now ain't it? There's Captain Trelawney. What's he to think? Here I have this confounded son of a Dutchman sitting in my own house, drinking of my own rum. Here he comes and tells me of it plain, and here I let him give us all the slip before my blessed deadlights. Now, Hawkins, you do me justice with the captain. You're a lad, you are, but you're as smart as paint. I see that when you first came in. Now, here it is. What could I do with this old timber I hobble on? When I was an A.B. master mariner, I'd have come up alongside of him, hand over hand, and broached him into a brace of old shakes, I would. But now? And then, all of a sudden, he stopped, and his jaw dropped as though he had remembered something. "The score!" he burst out. "3 goes of rum. Why, shiver me timbers, if I hadn't forgotten my score!" And, falling on a bench, he laughed until the tears ran down his cheeks. I could not help joining, and we laughed together, peal after peal, until the tavern rang again. "Why, what a precious old sea-calf I am," he said at last, wiping his cheeks. "You and me should get on well, Hawkins, for I'll take my Davy I should be rated ship's boy. But, come now, stand by to go about. This won't do. Duty is duty, messmates. I'll put on my old cocked hat and step along of you to Captain Trelawney and report this here affair. For, mind you, it's serious, young Hawkins, and neither you nor me's come out of it with what I should make so bold as to call credit. Nor you neither, says you. Not smart. None of the pair of us smart. But dash my buttons, that was a good un about my score." And he began to laugh again, and that so heartily that, though I did not see the joke as he did, I was again obliged to join him in his mirth. On our little walk along the quays, he made himself the most interesting companion, telling me about the different ships that we passed by, their rig, tonnage, and nationality, explaining the work that was going forward, how one was discharging, another taking in cargo, and a third making ready for sea, and every now and then telling me some little anecdote of ships or seamen, or repeating a nautical phrase till I had learned it perfectly. I began to see that here was one of the best of possible shipmates. When we got to the inn, the squire and Dr. Livesey were seated together, finishing a quart of ale with a toast in it, before they should go aboard the schooner on a visit of the inspections. Long John told the story from first to last with a great deal of spirit and the most perfect truth. "That was how it were, now, weren't it, Hawkins?" he would say now and again, and I could always bear him entirely out. The 2 gentlemen regretted that Black Dog had got away, but we all agreed there was nothing to be done, and after he had been complimented, Long John took up his crutch and departed. "All hands aboard by 4 this afternoon," shouted the squire at him. "Aye, aye, sir," cried the cook in the passage. "Well, squire," said Dr. Livesey, "I don't put much faith in your discoveries as a general thing, but I will say this, John Silver suits me." "The man's a perfect trump," declared the squire. "And now," added the doctor, "Jim may come on board with us, may he not?" "To be sure he may," said the squire. "Take your hat, Hawkins, and we'll see the ship." That was into chapter 8. Alright, let's catch up on comments. Oh, thank you for the rose, JY. Let's see. Hey, girl, hey. That's funny. Welcome, Joe, welcome. Waiters! Ooh, it's the Swan Princess! That's a great movie. Miss Michael? Thank you for the read of my name. Oh, of course, Carl. Or Carrie. Okay. You have the same problem. Hello. Oh, thank you for the follow. According to Proclus, to voluntarily serve others is always a positive. Oh, just, yes, I totally agree. Like, when you're able to do that and not expect anything and truly just enjoy it, that's something that's really special, and I guess not everybody can have that, which is kind of sad because it does give you a lot. Aw. Hey, I'd actually be down to be read too. Dash my buttons, what the heck does that mean? I don't know, honestly. I am struggling a bit to make sense of some of it because it's like a lot of pirate type language, so it's not like proper language. So it catches me off guard as I'm reading mentally, and I'm like trying to like let it continue to flow still without pausing too much. Much love. Ah, thank you, Paleo. Thank you. Fun reading. I like to have people in my lives be respectful, decent, treat me as a human being, and that with decency and respect. So in that way, sure. Oh, thank you, thank you. Thank you for the follows. Yeah, certainly. Love the book. Awesome, me too. Oh, dash my buttons. I love that. This is live. I mean, I thought there's like, how would they not be live? I'm not being rude. Is there a way to like replay lives without it being live? Oh, thank you, James. Thank you. I appreciate that. Cause I saw like there's like a replay, but I was wondering if there's like a way to like replay lives so they're not live. But yeah, yes, this is live. You don't think so? Okay, that's what I thought. You don't know? Yeah, I don't know either. I'm still learning this platform. All right. You're welcome. Thank you. All right, chapter 9, powder and arms. So I think some people put videos on loops. Oh, really? Oh, that's a good idea. I like the interaction though. I like the interaction. That's kind of like a big part of it. Always see with your smile. Aw, Paul, hello. Just want to always hear you read every day. Aw, well, I try to do this pretty often. Favorite author? Oh, that's hard. I can't do that. The last book I read was one of my favorite books though, by Ray Bradbury. So it's like, yeah, I have specific books versus specific authors that are my favorites. Alright, you get that one last chance, so you can choose to be appropriate and respectful, because there's no reason to see my outfit. This is a reading one. When will we be back? Because now I have to hear the rest. Right? Let's see. Tomorrow night after my stream, I try to do it every night, but sometimes, like, I just am so tired, so, I try to do it every night. But if you follow me, in theory, you should be getting my notifications when I go live, but I know not everybody gets them. So, yeah, I don't know how to, like, make it to where everybody's alerted ahead of time, because even if I post, like, a video on TikTok to let people know ahead of time, like, it's not guaranteed to be seen. So I just try to do my best to, do it at some point every night, or at least every other night, as much as I can. So I do enjoy doing it. So the only reason why I wouldn't be reading is because I'm just way too tired to do it. But all right, we ready for the next chapter? Ooh, I'm like learning. Okay, cool. Wish there was a way, but no, it's great that you do this. Oh, thank you. Yeah, I know, like, I do Twitch streaming, and like they have like a schedule thing, like that you could see like the person's schedule for different things. But TikTok doesn't have that currently, at least not that I know about. So, thank you. Stand up. I'm laying in bed. Why would I stand up? All right, let's not be weird, people. We're reading. Do you think Ortega's corner should have stopped? All right. Chapter 9, Powder and Armor. The Hispaniola lay some way out, and we went under the figureheads and around the sterns of many other ships, and their cables sometimes grated underneath our keel, and sometimes swung above us. At last, however, we got alongside, and there met and saluted, as we stepped aboard by the mate, Mr. Arrow, a brown old sailor with earrings in his ears and a squint. He and the squire were very thick and friendly, but I soon observed that things were not the same between Mr. Trelawney and the captain. This last was a sharp-looking man, who seemed angry with everybody on board, and was soon to tell us why, for we had hardly got down into the cabin when a sailor followed us. "Captain Smollett, sir, axing to speak with you," said he. "I am always at the captain's orders. Show him in," said the squire. The captain, who was close behind his messenger, entered at once and shut the door behind him. "Well, Captain Smollett," maybe that's why he's mad, because his name is Smollett. "And what have you to say?" Well, I hope all ship-shape and seaworthy." "Well, sir," said the captain, "better speak plain, I believe, even at the risk of offense. I don't like this cruise, I don't like the men, and I don't like my officer. That's short and sweet." "Perhaps, sir, you don't like the ship?" inquired the squire, very angry, as I could see. "I can't speak as to that, sir, not having seen her tried," said the captain. "She seems a clever craft, more I can't say." "Possibly, sir, you may not like your employer either?" says the squire. But here Dr. Livesey cut in. "Stay a bit," said he. "Stay a bit. No use of such questions as that but to produce ill feeling. The captain had said too much, or he has said too little, and I'm bound to say that I require an explanation of his words. You don't, you say, like this cruise. Now, why?" "I was enraged, sir, on what we call sealed orders. To sail the ship for that gentleman where he should bid me," said the captain. "So far so good, but now I find that every man before the mast knows more than I do. I don't call that fair now, do you?" That's funny. I feel like that's a lot of different people in a lot of different situations. "No," Dr. Lively said, "I don't." "Next," said the captain, "I learn we are going after treasure. Hear it from my own hands, mind you. Now, treasure is ticklish work. I don't like treasure voyages on any account, and I don't like them above all when they are secret, and when, begging your pardon, Mr. Trelawney, the secret has been told to the parrot." "Silver's parrot?" asked the squire. "It's a way of speaking," said the captain. "Blabbed, I mean. It's my belief neither of you, gentlemen, know what you are about. But I'll tell you of my way of it, life or death, and a close run." "That is all clear, and, I dare say, true enough," replied Dr. Livesey. "We take the risk, but we are not so ignorant as to believe as you believe us. Next, you say you don't like the crew. Are they not good seamen?" "I don't like them, sir," returned Captain Smollett, "and I think I should have had the choosing of my own hands, if you go to that." "Perhaps you should," replied the doctor. "My friend should perhaps have taken you along with him, but the slight, if there be one, was unintentional. And you don't like my Arrow? Or Mr. Arrow?" "I don't, sir. I believe he's a good seaman, but he's too free with the crew to be a good officer. A mate should keep himself to himself, shouldn't drink with the men before the mast." "Do you mean he drinks?" cried the squire. "No, sir," replied the captain, "only that he's too familiar." "Well, now, and the short and long of it, captain?" asked the doctor. "Tell us what you want." "Well, gentlemen, are you determined to go on this cruise?" "Like iron," answered the squire. "Very good," said the captain. "Then, as you've heard me very patiently, saying things that I could not prove, hear me a few words more. They are putting the powder and the arms in the forehold. Now, you have a good place under the cabin. Why not put them there? First point. Then you are bringing 4 of your own people with you, and they tell me some of them are to be berthed forward. Why not give them the berths here beside the cabin? Second point." "Any more?" said Mr. Trelawney. "One more," said the captain. "There's been too much blabbing already." "Far too much," agreed the doctor. "I'll tell you what I've heard myself," continued Captain Smollett. "That you have a map of an island, that there's crosses on the map to show where the treasure is, and that the island lies," and then he named the latitude and longitude exactly. "I never told that," cried the squire, "to a soul." "The hands know it, sir," returned the captain. "Livesey, that must have been you or Hawkins," cried the squire. "It doesn't matter much who it was," replied the doctor, and I could see that neither he nor the captain paid much regard to Mr. Trelawney's protestations. Neither did I, to be sure. He was so loose a talker. Yet in this case I believe he was right, really right, and that nobody had told the situation of the island. "Well, gentlemen," continued the captain, "I don't know who has this map, but I make it a point it shall be kept secret even from me and Mr. Arrow. Otherwise I would ask you to let me resign." "I see," said the doctor. "You wish us to keep this matter dark, and to make a garrison of the stern part of the ship, manned with my friend's own people, and provided with all the arms and powder on board. In other words, you fear mutiny." "Sir," said the Captain Smollett, "with no intention to take offence, I deny your right to put words into my mouth. No captain, sir, would be justified in going to sea at all if he had ground enough to say that. As for Mr. Arrow, I believe him thoroughly honest. Some of the men are the same, all may be, for what I know. But I am responsible for the ship's safety and the life of every man jack aboard of her. I see things going, as I think, not quite right. and I ask you to take certain precautions, or let me resign my berth, and that's all." "Captain Smollett," began the doctor with a smile, "did ever you hear the fable of the mountain and the mouse? You'll excuse me, I dare say, but you remind me of that fable. When you came in here, I'll stake my wig you meant more than this." "Doctor," said the captain, "you are smart. When I came in here, I meant to get discharged. I had no thought that Mr. Trelawney would hear a word." "No more I would," cried the squire. "Had Livesey not been here, I should have seen you to the deuce. As it is, I have heard you. I will do as you desire, but I think the worse of you." "That's as you please, sir," said the captain. "You'll find I do my duty." And with that he took his leave. "Trelawney," said the doctor, "contrary to all my notions, I believe you have managed to get 2 honest men on board with you. That man and John Silver." "Silver, if you like," cried the squire, "but as for that intolerable humbug, I declare I think his conduct unmanly, unsailorly, and downright un-English." "Well," says the doctor, "we shall see." When he came on deck, the men had begun already to take out the arms and powder, re-hoeing at their work, while the captain and Mr. Arrow stood by superintending. The new management was quite to my liking. The whole schooner had been overhauled. 6 berths had been made astern, out of what had been the after part of the main hold, and this set of cabins was only joined to the galley and forecastle by a sparred passage on the port side. It had been originally meant that the captain, Mr. Arrow, Hunter, Joyce, the doctor, and the squire were to accompany these 6 berths. Now, Rudrith and I were to get 2 of them, and Mr. Arrow and the captain were to sleep on deck in the companion, which had been enlarged on each side till you might almost have called it a roundhouse. Very low it was still, of course, but there was room to swing 2 hammocks, and even the mate seemed pleased with the arrangement. Even he, perhaps, had been doubtful as to the crew, but that is only a guess, for, as you shall hear, we had not long the benefit of his opinion. We were all hard at work, changing the powder and the berths, when the last man or 2, and Long John all along with them, came off in a shore boat. The cook came up the side like a monkey for cleverness, and, as soon as he saw what was doing, "So ho, mates," says he, "what's this?" "We're a changing of the powder, Jack," answers one. "Why, by the powers," cried Long John, "if we do, we'll miss the morning tide." "My orders," said the captain shortly. "You may go below, my man. Hands will want supper." "Aye, aye, sir," answered the cook, and, touching his forelock, he disappeared at once in the direction of his galley. "That's a good man, captain," said the doctor. "Very likely, sir," replied Captain Smollett. "Easy with that, men, easy," he ran on, to the fellows who were shifting the powder, and then, suddenly observing me examining the swivel we carried amidship, a long brass 9. "Here, you ship's boy," he cried, "out of that. Out with you to the cook, and get some work." And then, as I was hurrying off, I heard him say, quite loudly, to the doctor, "I'll have no favourites on my ship." I assure you I was quite of the squire's way of thinking, and hated the captain deeply. That's into that chapter. Oh, thank you for the follows. Thank you for the follows. Thank you for the gifts. Pronouns in bio, big red flag. So why is that a big flag? Red flag. That's a weird thing to say. Awesome. Always love bedtime stories. Awesome. I'm so glad that you like it. Let's finish our lessons. Literally, I get so happy. Aw, thank you, Paul. Thank you so much. I'm not sure. Hello, beautiful. Hello, hello, hello. I love your laugh. Plus, you say Steven so much. I look forward to hearing it after. That's funny. Who the heck came in here saying the fact that I have pronouns in my bio are big red flags? Oh my gosh. It takes all kinds, I swear. That's funny. Okay. Alexa's jealous and she can stay jealous, right? Why hers? Yeah, that's funny. Chapter 10, The Voyage. Hello, hello, welcome, welcome. We're reading Treasure Island. We're on Chapter 10. Do you model when you don't read stories? I do a lot of things when I don't read stories. Modeling and acting is one of them. Yes, join. Welcome, welcome. Everybody's welcome. Everybody is welcome as long as you're nice, respectful to everybody and me. Alright, Chapter 10. Chapter 10. All that night we were in a great bustle getting things stowed in their place, and boatfuls of the squire's friends, Mr. Blandley and the like, coming off to wish him a good voyage and a safe return. We never had a night at the admirable Benbow when I had half the work, and I was dog-tired, when, a little before dawn, the boatswain sounded his pipe, and the crew began to man the capstan bars. I might have been twice as weary, yet I would not have left the deck. All was so new and interesting to me. The brief commands, the shrill note of the whistle, the men bustling to their places in the glimmer of the ship's lanterns. "Now, Barbecue, tip us a stave," cried one voice. "The old one," cried another. "Aye, aye, mates," said Long John, who was standing by with his crutch under his arm, and at once broke out in the air in words I knew so well. 15 men on the dead man's chest. And then the whole crew bore chorus, "Yo ho ho," and a bottle of rum. And at the third ho drove the bars before them with a will. Even at that exciting moment it carried me back to the old admirable Benbow in a second, and I seemed to hear the voice of the captain piping in the chorus. But soon the anchor was short up, soon it was hanging dripping at the bows, soon the sails began to draw, and the land and shipping to flit by on either side, and before I could lie down to snatch an hour of slumber, the Hispaniola had begun her voyage to the Isle of Treasure. I am not going to relate that voyage in detail. It was fairly prosperous. The ship proved to be a good ship. The crew were capable seamen. There's that seaman for you. And the captain thoroughly understood his business. But before we came the length of Treasure Island, 2 or 3 things had happened which required to be known. Mr. Arrow, first of all, turned out even worse than the captain had feared. He had no command among the men, and people did what they pleased with him. But that was by no means the worst of it, for after a day or 2 at sea, he began to appear on deck with hazy eye, red cheeks, stuttering tongue, and other marks of drunkenness. Time after time he was ordered below in disgrace. Sometimes he fell and cut himself. Sometimes he lay all day in his little bunk at one side of the companion. Sometimes for a day or 2 he would be almost sober and attend to his work at least passably. In the meantime, we could never make out where he got the drink. That was the ship's mystery. Watch him as we pleased, we could do nothing to solve it, and when we asked him to his face, he would only laugh. If he were drunk, and if he were sober, deny solemnly that he ever tasted anything but water, and was not only useless as an officer and a bad influence amongst the men, but it was plain that at this rate he must soon kill himself outright, so nobody was much surprised, nor very sorry, when one dark night, with the head sea, he disappeared entirely and was seen no more. Sad. Do I need to block somebody? Yeah, I need to block somebody. Thanks, Steele. Calling that out. Or, James. The boat is covered in semen, right? Oh, man, that's funny. That's funny. "Overboard," said the captain. "Well, gentlemen, that saves the trouble of putting him in irons." But there we were, without a mate, and it was necessary, of course, to advance one of the men. The boatswain, Job Anderson, was the likeliest man aboard, and though he kept his old title, he served in a way as mate. Mr. Trelawney had followed the sea, and his knowledge made him very useful, for he often took a watch himself in easy weather, and the coxswain Israel Hands was a careful, wily old experienced seaman who could be trusted at a pinch with almost anything. He was a great confidant of Long John Silver, and so the mention of his name leads me on to speak of our ship's cook, Barbecue, as the men called him. Aboard ship, he carried his crutch by a lanyard round his neck, and to have both hands as free as possible. It was something to see him wedge the foot of the crutch against a bulkhead, and, propped against it, yielding to every movement of the ship, get on with his cooking like someone safe ashore. Still more strange was it to see him in the heaviest of weather cross the deck. He had a line or two rigged up to help him across the widest spaces. Long John's earrings, they were called, and he would hand himself from one place to another, now quickly as another man could walk. Yet some of the men who had sailed with him before expressed their pity to see him so reduced. He's no common man, Barbecue, said the coxswain to me. He had good schooling in his young days, and can speak like a book when so minded, and brave, a lion's nothing alongside of Long John. I see him grapple 4 and knock their heads together, him unarmed, and the crew respected and even obeyed him. He had a way of talking to each, and doing everybody some particular service. To me he was unweariedly kind, and always glad to see me in the galley, which he kept as clean as a new pin, the dishes hanging up burnished, and his parrot in a cage in one corner. "Come away, Hawkins," he would say. "Come and have a yarn with John. Nobody more welcome than yourself, my son. Sit you down and hear the news. Here's Captain Flint. I calls my parrot Captain Flint, after the famous buccaneer. Here's Captain Flint predicting success to our voyage. Wasn't you now, Captain?" And the parrot would say with great rapidity, "Pieces of 8, pieces of 8, pieces of 8, till you wondered what it was not out of breath, or till John threw his handkerchief over the cage. Now, that bird," he would say, "is maybe 200 years old, Hawkins. They lives forever mostly, and if anybody seen more wickedness, it must be the devil himself. She sailed with England, and the great Captain England, the pirate. She's been at Madagascar, and at Malabar, and Surinam, and Providence, and Portobello. She was at the fishing up of the wrecked plate ships. It's there she learned pieces of 8, and, little wonder, 350,000 of 'em, Hawkins. She was at the boarding of the Viceroy of the Indies at Goa. She was, and to look at her, you would think she was only a baby, but you smelt powder, didn't you now?" And this is the picture. Oh yeah, I'm not gonna block you. You haven't been rude, crude, or indecent at all. That's actually a good book that you're reading. It is. Yeah, I only block people who are being rude, crude, obnoxious, insulting, demeaning, sexist, any way oppressive. Whitehurst! Any way oppressive to me or others. The picture again? Okay. Is that good? Thank you for the glasses. Okay. Captain Flint, you've seen plenty of action. Stand by to go about, the parrot would scream. She's a handsome craft, she is, the cook would say, and give her sugar from his pocket. And then the bird would peck at the bars and swear straight on, passing belief for wickedness. "There," John would add, "you can't touch pitch and not be mucked, lad. Here's this poor old innocent bird of mine, swearing blue fire, and none the wiser. You may lay before that, she would swear the same in a manner of speaking before Chaplain." And John would touch his forelock with a solemn way he had that made me think he was the best of men. In the meantime, Squire and Captain Smollett were still on pretty distant terms with one another. The Squire made no bones about the matter. He despised the captain. The captain, on his part, never spoke but when he was spoken to, and then sharp and short and dry, and not a word wasted. He owned, when driven into a corner, that he seemed to have been wrong about the crew, that some of them were as brisk as he wanted to see, and all had behaved fairly well. As for the ship, he had taken a downright fancy to her. She'll lie a point nearer the wind than a man has a right to expect of his own married wife, sir. But, he would add, all I say is we're not home again, and I don't like the cruise. The squire, at this, would turn away and march up and down the deck, chin in air. A trifle more of that man, he would say, and I should explode. We had some heavy weather, which only proved the qualities of the Hispaniola. Every man on board seemed well content, and they must have been hard to please if they had been otherwise, for it is my belief there was never a ship's company so spoiled since Noah put to sea. Double grog was going on the least excuse. There was duff and odd days, as for instance, if the squire heard it was any man's birthday, and always a barrel of apples standing broached in the waist for anyone to help himself that had a fancy. Never knew good come of it yet, the captain told to Dr. Livesey. Spoil foxely hands, make devils, that's my belief. But good did come of the apple barrel, as you shall hear, for if it had not been for that, we should have had no note of warning, and might all have perished by the hand of treachery. This was how it came about. Oh, we're on for treachery. Treachery. We had run up the trades to get the wind of the island where we were after. I am not allowed to be more plain, and now we were running down for it with a bright lookout day and night. It was about the last day of our outward voyage, by the largest computation, some time that night, or, at latest, before noon on the morrow. We should sight the treasure island. We were heading SSW, south-southwest, and had a steady breeze abeam and a quiet sea. The Hispaniola rolled steadily, dipping her bowsprit now and then with a whiff of spray. All was drawing alow and aloft. Everyone was in the bravest spirits, because we were now so near an end of the first part of our adventure. Now, just after sundown, when all my work was over, and I was on my way to my berth, it occurred to me that I should like an apple. I ran on deck. The watch was all forward looking out for the inland. The man at the helm was watching the luff of the sail, and whistling away gently to himself, and that was the only sound excepting the swish of the sea against the bows and around the sides of the ship. In I got bodily into the apple barrel, and I found that there was scarce an apple left. But sitting down there in the dark, what with the sound of the waters and the rocking movement of the ship, I had either fallen asleep or was on the point of doing so, when a heavy man sat down with rather a clash close by. The barrel shook as he leaned his shoulders against it, and I was about to jump up when the man began to speak. It was Silver's voice, and before I had heard a dozen words, I would not have shown myself for all the world, but lay there, trembling and listening, in the extreme of fear and curiosity, for from these dozen words I understood that the lives of all the honest men aboard depend upon me alone. Well, that's looming. I'm sleeping. Me too. Did you say McDoubles? No, I did not. I don't think I did. I don't know. Yeah, so we've been reading Treasure Island. I think that was 8, 7. Yeah, that was 4 chapters I read just now. But now I'm getting sleepy. I think that's the most I can read tonight. But thank you all for all the likes, for all the gifts. I appreciate those so much. And for 4 more, yeah. Hopefully tomorrow night or the day after that. Aw, thank you, James. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. I'm glad that you like it. It really does mean a lot to me that people enjoy this. You're welcome. Oh, good night, Whitehurst. You sleep well as well. Could listen to you all day. Aw, thank you, Paul. Well, I definitely plan on doing this very frequently, very often. All right. Good night, all, or good morning, and have a wonderful day or night.